445 compared with 100 is startling, isn't it?
Big difference.
Yes, but it's much more startling than that, because everything that you do in the financial world is compared to what everybody else is doing. What is most of the world doing?
They're flying.
Flying with the headwind.
Flying with headwind.
You got the tailwind of the same denomination. It's twice the wind.
Is spending their money in all these different areas and it's leaking out of their household. They have a financial environment, a financial condition that they're in. You say in the book that learning to control that environment is the most profitable thing that they can do in a lifetime.
Sure.
Talk to me more about flying into a financial headwind and creating a financial tailwind.
And like I say, I've been challenged on validity of my statements there. And every time I've asked somebody, well, do your own third grade arithmetic, go to your situation and tell me what's happening. And I've never had one that didn't say you understated the case. It's worse than what you're depicting. I like to be generous like that. So we have a 4.5 to 10 ratio. I using the airplane analogy, said you're in Birmingham, Alabama, and you want to go to Chicago, but you have to go through an environment. You can't fly an airplane through a vacuum. It's impossible. Yeah, your airplane can run 100 miles an hour. We just use the 10% and move the decimal one place right. But here comes a high off the left coast. You have a 345 mile an hour headwind and a 100 mile an hour airplane flying into it. Well, to get to Chicago in this circumstance, it's the smartest thing you can do is land. Get on the ground. Have some patience. Let the air mass move on. It will. They all do. There's never an exception. Now it's centered over Indianapolis. It's dead calm in the center of that circle. Get in that same 100 mile an hour airplane and you will cover the ground in 100 miles an hour. Well, the arrival syndrome sets in. We're making progress. You can't do any better than that. Well, they don't think. Let the air mass move on. Now it's over Washington, D.C. You got the backside of that circle now. You got a 345 tailwind pushing a 100 mile an hour airplane. You have a 445 mile an hour ground speed, same airplane. Now there's a startling difference between that and 100 mile an hour. You see, that's what the 100 mile an hour, for example, there is what Dave Ramsey is teaching, i.e., get out of debt, get out of debt, get out of debt. Well, I'm saying get in the banking business and act like a banker. That's all. Now, 445 compared with 100 is startling, isn't it?
Big difference.
Yes, but it's much more startling than that, because everything that you do in the financial world is compared to what everybody else is doing. What is most of the world doing?
They're flying.
Flying with the headwind.
Flying with headwind.
You got the tailwind of the same denomination. It's twice the wind. That is dramatic. And the book is teaching people how to create a perpetual tailwind to everything that you do in the financial world. See, when I got through with that 13 years of paying off the banks, I had the policy loans to pay off, okay? Mm-hmm. It startled me how quickly the loans got paid off. It shocked me. I couldn't believe it. It's true.
You said before, in retrospect, maybe you should have flipped it around and had it concept, infinite banking. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, well, that's the way the Spanish do things. Like we say hot water in Canada and USA, but in Mexico and Spain, they say agua caliente, water hot. The modifier comes afterwards. We do the modifier in front. I'm just trying to get people off the prejudice they have against the word bank and why that prevails. And I don't think there's all that much basis out there for anything except that here's some person in a home office of an insurance company latches onto that, and other folks just parrot it, and they take that as, quote, this is just the way it is. But it's not. They haven't thought that thing through at all. I say concentrate on the fact that this is a concept. This is a way to look at things here. And it's not the way that people usually look at things. Yeah, it dawned on me back there when I was putting all this together that I had any number of clients who had reasonable amounts of life insurance, but they had huge cash flow going through equipment and so forth, and it was all financed and so forth. Reminded me of those days back in North Carolina. What I did was I pioneered the technique of clearing land with heavy equipment, Caterpillar tractors, for tree growing purposes. Back in those days, a D7 Caterpillar cost $1 a pound. It weighed 50,000 pounds. The financing package on it was $1,500 a month each. I had 3, do some third grade arithmetic, going through huge amounts of cash flow there. Not too much of it sticks to you. Most everything is going to the banks. Now, if you're going to move a Caterpillar tractor from one location to another, you don't do it on the highway. That means you got to have a truck with a little boy to do that. Well, you got people who operate those tractors, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, are they going to be driving those tractors on the highway or the low boy or whatever? No, they got to have vehicles. Businesses go through huge cash flow, and it's all financed. And it shouldn't be at all. Anybody can get out of this, but it's just going to take a different mindset and a change of thought process. That is all. But the trick is that getting it across to the next generation of people as such. There's some things that we'll get into later on in this effort here that will lend credence to what I'm trying to hem up for you. But so much of that is just wasted energy that it shouldn't be at all. All right, now when you don't play that game out there, it's a simple life, really. And it's very profitable compared with everything else because you see, so much of what we do in life out there has absolutely no function at all. It's just excess baggage that we have to put up with because of the way that we don't think. And one of the easiest things to do is get rid of the bankers out there. Don't be paying interest. Well, you got to start to learn how to grow the business. It doesn't take all that long to really get started, but there's no reason not to have continuous growth all the time. And when you get to my stage of life, that it's the best way in the world to pass the medium of exchange on to the next generation. We had 49 policies at one time. We're down to 24 now.
I've heard you say that at this stage in your life that you're in the process of giving things away.
Yes, you can't take this stuff with you. Good grief. I've been teaching Mary how to be a widow and the evolution of my thinking as to how to go about this and things that occurred to me. It didn't occur to me before. I was thinking the way that everybody else thinks to a degree. Mm-hmm. To a degree, yeah. You can't run the business by yourself. Mom and pop groceries don't exist except in remote locations. Now, consider all the overhead that's involved with that. It's mind-boggling for the little bit that they get. Now, you open the door, and people come in and pick up merchandise, and they picked up a can of peas off the grocery store or shelf, go past the cash register, and they pay 80 cents for that can of peas. That left an empty spot on the shelves of the grocery store.
Right.
The hired help is cruising the aisles at all times. When they see empty spaces, they go back in the storeroom, get merchandise, and fill up the empty spaces. Customers demand it. If you ever been to a store that's halfway stocked, do you go back?
No.
No. You go where someone has some sense. Here's that poison that's out there in the minds of so many people. Here I am in Boulder, Colorado. Years ago, there's about 20 people there. There was a young man there, I guess probably 27 or something like that. He says, I can do better. You see, if I put $10,000 into your life insurance policy, I can't get to it all the next day or so forth. But if I put $10,000 in a savings account, I can get to it the next day. And God provides. I had a fantastic example that'll help him adjust his perspective. There was an orthopedic surgeon there. Doctor, can you help this young man adjust his perspective on this? How many years did you go to college? 4. How many years you go to medical school? 4. How many years did you go to internship and residency? 8? How much money did you make during those 16 years? He says, I accumulated a debt of $450,000. See, people, they understand that, but yet when it comes down to a little simple thing like banking, they lose all perspective. And it's all because of a mindset. And that mindset predominates out there and has done so, like Paul Rosenberg puts out in Fish of the Last to Notice the Water. It's been going on for something like 5,000 to 6,000 years, and you cannot break that cycle easily. You got to learn how to secede from it and realize that you do not have to play their game at all. I've been Christian since I was 9 years old. It's amazing how people look at the Bible. Look, there's 66 books there, and most of them in the Old Testament. The Old Testament's real thick. The New Testament's all yay thick. Why y'all always say that Old Testament stuff? That's a long time ago. That's describing the problem of man in relation to his maker. That's what it's all about. The Bible is the story of man's relationship to his maker. He's got a problem. Man does. He wants to be God. He created us for fellowship with him. Now, you can't have fellowship with a puppet. That's impossible, because the puppet is you. So he had to give us free will. Well, that included the ability to reject him. So what is our normal tendency? Reject him. And that's what it's all about. See, that's the Old Testament covers 4,000 years. There's 400 years between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Nothing was written pertinent to the central message of the Bible during that time. There were other writings, of course. People love to write whatever. All right, do you realize that the New Testament only covers about 75 years? That is all. Now, what happens when Jesus Christ appears on the scene? They knew there's a Messiah coming, but what they saw didn't meet their specs. Opportunities will track you down. You don't have to hunt them. They will find you. You have to be discretionary as to where you're going to indulge, whatever. It's just like the principle of EVA, always earning this particular level no matter what. And if you can't do better than that, then you made a bad investment. So many people, when they think about things financial, they think about accumulate this big bunch of money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, have we ever talked about my interest in cartoons?
I don't think we've talked about your interest in cartoons, no?
I like cartoons.
So do I.
Well, Saturday Evening Post, Athens High School, 1947 library. Here's this cartoonist that had
One pane.
one page. Thanks, one page. Tom Henderson was his name. I liked him. It's nice how you can communicate messages through cartoons. Beetle Bailey falls off this cliff, and he's falling, and he catches on this branch, and he's, help, help, is anybody up there? This is God. Turn loose. I will rescue you. Thanks a little bit. Is anybody else up there? We give lip service to the word faith, but when the chips are down, what happens? Remember that you own the business. The insurance company is your trustee of a trust. A pre-engineered trust agreement is what it really amounts to. If you classify a life insurance policy, that's exactly what it is. It's free contract with other free people, and it cannot inflate the money supply like banks do.
One of the things that you say, Nelson, in your book, which I found really profound, was that the people who are acquiring these contracts are people who obviously care about their family and care about their loved ones, And so is that not the type of person that you want to be in business with?
Absolutely. That's the ideal of a person to be in business with, because, look, there are folks out there in business that are not very nice. Gosh, reading that book I told you about last night, what goes on in Wall Street is unbelievable. I would not want to be dealing with any of those folks at all. I'd gone through the grocery store story on at least 2 different occasions, and the sponsor said, "Why are you talking about groceries?" He still didn't get it. We're talking about running a business. And if you're going to be a banker, you're a banker, you've got to know how to run a business. And so we got to go through the steps. Well, the first thing that you got to do is study the business. If you don't understand the grocery business up one side and down the other, your competition is going to eat your lunch. That is a very competitive business.
You say that you cannot run the business yourself. And so the parallel there is that the home office personnel who are the administrators of the policies that you own. And you mentioned that the policy owner's behavior is far more critical than the behavior of the insurance company, where the parallel is when you talk about the front door versus the back door. And so if you are behaving in such a way where you're taking that can of peas off the shelf and you're paying for it through the front door, and you're paying retail, or in fact a little more than retail, then you are running your business profitably.
You're increasing the capital.
Right.